Hey guys, welcome back to more Just Know HOA stories. In this video, a ridiculous homeowner association Karen scheduled a 210 people wedding on my private property without my permission. The problem is, I am not even part of this HOA. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is titled HOA Karen tries to ban Halloween. So I live in an HOA community. For 25 years, our HOA president was a retired shoe cobbler and Korean War veteran. Everything was chill, no one ever got a notice or even a warning. The HOA meeting consisted of him stating, "Anyone have any questions? No? Okay, let's eat." And we all had Cracker Barrel that he paid for. Halloween, everyone went all out. Skeletons and vampires and all sorts of lawn decors. It was a huge event, and even the local special needs school would bring the kids to go trick-or-treating. Well, he died, and his replacement was a 35-year-old woman from out of state. That is how it always starts. We all thought she was cool, but it turns out it was an act. She was a bad crap crazy Christian nutjob. I am Christian, but this woman was a total cultist. She decreed the Halloween event was satanic and was banned. That did not go over well, so at the next HOA meeting, a vote took place to remove her. She threatened to have everyone arrested and actually called the cops on us. Needless to say, they laughed and she was removed. She sold her house for a loss and moved on. The new HOA president, an elderly black man, issued a decree that from now on, the HOA president did not have the power to cancel events and it must be voted on by the community. He also shortened the term to 2 years and outlawed the HOA from imposing monetary fines for minor infractions. And yeah guys, I gotta say, that is the first HOA president that actually seems reasonable. And by the way, I had to search for my words there because that's not usually something I say about HOAs or HOA presidents in general. Either way, if you enjoy HOA stories and want to see more of them, please don't forget to like the video, because if we could reach 1000 likes, that would help me tremendously in regards to the algorithm. Thank you so much. The next one is titled HOA Scheduled a 210-person wedding on my property without my permission. So I live in a neighborhood that has a voluntary HOA, no matter how much the HOA wants to believe that it is required to join. I would say it's about an 80-20 split, with myself and a minority that does not want to join the HOA. Partially due to stories I've heard, and partially due to thinking it is just a waste of money for me. I don't need anything from them, and I also just know they would try to make me pay double for my property, since it's technically 2 properties. I have one lot that I live on and the one next to me, which is just an empty lot right now. I got it cheap, and the plan is to hopefully have my cousin move in, since he wanted a lot to build a house, but he's been busy with other crap, so it's just been empty for a while. Long story short of why I own an empty lot next to my house. For work, I own a construction company, so for now it's actually really useful to store equipment at least. Now, my job is relevant since it can require me to sometimes have to be away for short periods of time, usually no more than a week. If a job site needs me on it a lot and it's not convenient to travel back and forth, I would stay near there. For this example, I had to leave to work in the next state over, and it was not worth traveling daily at all. While I was gone though, my property was not just sitting there and waiting for me to get back. Instead, the absolute troll of an HOA president had other ideas. She is the Karen right out of the dictionary: evil, manipulative, and power-hungry. She is the reason that the HOA has such a high joining rate too, since people join just to get her to leave them the hell alone. She saw me being gone as a magical sign from the gods themselves that my vacant lot was open for use. Did she want to use it for some big HOA event? Maybe a nice charity thing that would bring business to the town or help people? Yeah, of course not. It was selfish. Some might wonder if there was anything worse than a Karen, and to that I say, any Karen that had reproduced. Karen has a daughter, Karen Jr., who is just as entitled as her mother is. To make it even worse, she was a bride-to-be, meaning Karen Jr. was also a bridezilla at the moment. I guess Karen figured in her little hairspray poison mind, why should they pay for somewhere to have a wedding? They are far too important for that, and of course I would not even know they used my lot since I was away. So 200 plus invites were sent out, tables, decorations, a stage, etc. were delivered and set up on my lot. All I assume under the assumption that I was not getting back until it was all over. Not quite. I got back before the wedding, 3 days before to be exact. To say I was confused at what I saw would be generous. It took some asking around to get the details of what was going on and the reason that I knew everything I wrote above about what Karen had done. Now, there was the million-dollar question of what the hell I was gonna do about it. I did not need to find Karen because the next morning she was there with the bride and groom and vendors, and I don't even know who the other people were. It was now or never to go out and see if simply telling them to go away was gonna work. I doubted it would, but this way at least I could say I tried. Me, what exactly is going on here? Karen, excuse me, this is a private wedding setup. Me, and this is my private property, so I have the right to stay right here and the right to know what made you think you could host a wedding on my property. Karen Jr., you were not here. Karen, it is just a single day. You're overreacting. Me, so just to make sure I have this right, you wanna have a wedding here on my property and you didn't think to ask my permission at all? You have no kind of permit saying you have a right to use the land. Karen, you're just being selfish, having an empty lot and not allowing your neighbors to use it. A wedding is a beautiful thing and of course you can even come and have some cake. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event and if you ruin that, I can guarantee the neighborhood will hate you and think you're an evil man. Me, how about you have 24 hours to get everything off my property, otherwise I will. I left them with that threat, not knowing exactly what I was gonna do yet if they didn't comply with what I wanted. I could file a police report, but with the wedding in 2 days, I knew that probably nothing would get done until after the wedding. And well, at that point it would not matter and they would have won. The next day I was amazed to look out my window and see that they had removed everything, and yeah, I'm just kidding. Nothing was removed, and I was left trying to come up with another plan. The first thing that it involved was doing a lot of research, not my strong suit at all, and it took me a lot of the day just to make sure that my plan was not gonna cause me to get arrested. And well, it wouldn't, and I was calling in a few favors from my construction crew. It being 24 hours with no action, I'm sure Karen and Karen Jr. assumed they had won. They had zero clue what was in store for them. It was the morning of the wedding and I woke up at 4 AM and opened the door to a few guys from my crew that wanted to help after hearing the story of what was going on. I knew we didn't have a lot of time before somebody showed up, so we got to work fast. We dismantled the entire wedding setup. Even the little stage they put up obviously wanted bolted to the ground, and with a little help from a backhoe, we were able to get it moved to the front as well. Then I got back into the backhoe and just started digging out where a foundation for a house could be. There was not gonna be any large flat area by the time they got there to have the party. I essentially demolished the entire thing. At 7 AM, people started to arrive, including guests and Karen herself. I have no idea where Karen Jr. was during this, but I assume she was getting ready and didn't show up after she was told what happened. Karen was furious and came up to me and started screaming. She was yelling that she had 210 people RSVP and how now it was my job to accommodate them, yelling that I ruined the wedding. I stayed totally calm and told her that I warned her that she needed to move all her stuff, or I would. She called the police on me and I watched as guests showed up totally confused about what was happening and watching the entire thing unfold. I don't know what she said on the phone to the police, but it must have been some story since they arrived within 10 minutes. She went on a rant to them about how I destroyed the property and that there was supposed to be a wedding that day and I destroyed thousands of dollars worth of materials. Then it was my turn to speak to the police. Me, I told her and showed her beforehand that I owned the land and she had to move her stuff. I'm breaking ground here today for a house to be built. I had to show the police proof that I owned the property while Karen did not have any permit or ownership or anything to show them. The cops had no legal authority to intervene in this matter. They told Karen that if anything, it was a civil issue. Of course, she was threatening to sue me for the damage and the cost of everything, and yes, she started listing crap like the caterer and the hairstylist and the flowers, etc. Basically, anything she had paid for under the assumption she had my land as a venue. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit before I could say anything. I flat out told her that she had the right to sue me, and I also told her that if she was gonna sue me, I would just countersue for trespassing and the cost of cleanup. I don't know if it was just empty threats or if she was gonna actually try to sue me, but I didn't care. I kind of feel bad for the guests who just seemed to be standing around awkwardly waiting for Karen to tell them to leave. I don't know where they went, but I also really didn't care. The after effects effect of all of this was of course both Karens trying to smear my name and insisting that I'm some big horrible person. She did not end up filing any lawsuit against me, but I have a feeling that has more to do with probably not finding a lawyer willing to take the losing fight. I got a few notices from the HOA that I knew she was behind, telling me I was in violation for having construction on a weekend. I knew since I was not a member, they could not do anything. They even tried to argue that I was digging without a permit, the only semi-valid thing they said. Once I sent them the fact that I did have a permit for that, I got the permit but didn't start since I was waiting on my cousin, they finally shut up. People around here know what Karen did, and I can hear people telling the story, and I imagine it's a story that's gonna stick to Karen for a very long time. If she didn't like me refusing to join the HOA, then she's gonna hate my cousin. Unlike me, who just doesn't care, he actively hates them. When she tries to get their new homeowner to join, he's gonna give her a mouthful. And yeah guys, these HOA Karens just get more and more outrageous. If someone tried to plan a huge wedding on your private property without your permission, what would you have done? Let us know in the comments. Would you have gone as far as OP? I got a feeling he might have been liable for legal damages here, even though the Karen was trespassing and in my opinion in the wrong. Nonetheless though, OP is definitely a legend. The next one is a fantastic revenge story that is titled, "My boss asked me to falsify reports. I let her sink herself." So I work at a mid-sized company where I'm responsible for preparing internal reports. My boss, who's been under a lot of pressure lately, recently asked me to adjust some numbers to make our department look better. It was not a blatant order to lie, but the implication was clear. Fudge the data, I knew it was unethical and could backfire badly on everyone. Instead of confronting her or outright refusing, I decided to play it smart. I completed the report accurately and submitted it up the chain, CCing her and making sure everything was properly documented and timestamped. I saved all relevant emails and messages just in case. Sure enough, leadership noticed the numbers didn't match what my boss had previously promised. When questions started coming in, she tried to throw me under the bus, claiming I misunderstood her instructions. But everything was in writing. I had the emails, the original data, the final report, everything. Once I shared the records with HR, it was clear who was lying. Later, she was gone. Officially, she resigned, but everyone knew it was not voluntary. I didn't raise my voice or make a scene, I just did my job right and let her take the fall for trying to manipulate the truth. And just because the last one was so satisfying, let's read another revenge story. This one is titled, "Neighbor keeps accidentally blowing his leaves into my yard, so I returned the favor." For weeks, my neighbor has been accidentally blowing his leaves right into my yard. Like every single time he gets out the leaf blower, my lawn ends up covered in his leaves. I tried giving him the benefit of the doubt at first, but after politely mentioning it once, he just acted like it was not a big deal. Well, I'm not about to let someone treat my property like a free dumping ground, so I decided to send a little message. The next time he was outside, instead of just blowing the leaves back, I raked every single leaf that had landed on my yard, every last one, and then carefully placed them back onto his lawn in neat little piles. No leaf blower shortcuts for me. I wanted him to know that I put in the effort. Honestly, it felt great. Sometimes you just have to set boundaries and show people that you're not someone to mess with. If you keep letting people slide, they will keep stepping all over you. I'm proud of standing up for myself in a small but satisfying way. Sometimes the best revenge is just making sure people know where the line is. And the next one is titled, "Boss Stole My Money." And by the way, if you enjoy the HOA stories, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. I'm a contractor, and while working on a project in a very remote location, I arranged to buy and bring 2 rounds of breakfast tacos for the staff of the county facility, where I would be working for the next week in exchange for free copy privileges. The boss gave approval on the phone, and the total for the tacos that week came out to just over $100. A great exchange, as the copy budget was upwards of $1,000. My receipts, along with the supporting CC statement I submitted at the end of the billing cycle between a week and 2 weeks after he had verbally approved the expense, was declined. I was not too angry, but a deal is a deal, and I called the boss to remind him that he had approved the expense. His response was, "You should have gotten it in writing." Pissed me off royally, but I finished the project as promised and was working on another project for another client less than a week later. A couple months go by and the boss who had chiseled me out of the dollars called to see if I was available to work on another project beginning on the 1st of the next month, and after some haggling, I agreed. The work schedule would be tight, and in his words, this was an all-hands-on-deck project with nights and weekends expected. I was also told this was a new client and they wanted to impress. A couple days before the project was set to begin, the chiseler called me to tell me the engagement paperwork was on the way and check my email. I told him I had decided not to work the project after all, and he was furious. He screamed, "You agreed to work on this project weeks ago." I repeated his words verbatim and said, "You should have gotten it in writing." And the next one is titled, "Sprained ankle, boss wanted a doctor's note to pay 1 day of sick time, now he is paying a week." I twisted and sprained my ankle Monday morning packing up our camp from Labor Day weekend. Having done this a few times in the past, I didn't want to bother to have it checked out. Who wants to pay $1,000 for urgent care to tell you to rest and ice it? Yay, America! So I went to work on Tuesday. I got morning stuff done and explained the situation to my boss, told him I would need to take the day off because it was swollen and painful and I needed to rest and be off of it in order for it to heal. He gets in a tizzy because God forbid anyone needs to miss work for anything at all ever, and snaps at me for not planning to go to the doctor. Wednesday, I go into work still limping and still wearing improper footwear. I can only fit the injured foot into a crock without unbearable pain. The first thing the boss says is, "Don't you think you should get that checked out? I don't understand why you don't want to just pay for it." I explain again that I've had this injury in the past, it's definitely not broken, and honestly not even as swollen as it has been when I've done it before. I want to be at work to keep up on things and make everyone's job less difficult. I would just need to take it easy for a couple days, which is not a problem, considering I can do 90% of the job from my desk and the 10% slack is beyond easy for everyone to pick up, especially when not being there makes them pick up 100% of it. This gets met with more attitude, so I ask if I'll be getting paid sick time for the day I missed yesterday. He says no, not without a doctor's note. You can visibly see the injury clear as day and I'm trying here, so what the hell? I'm fed up at this point, so a little later on, I say okay and leave to go to the doctors for the note he wants so badly, knowing full well what they would say to treat it and that I'll need to be off of it for 3 to 5 days. After an x-ray and getting the "Yeah, but sprained, keep doing what you've been doing," I let them know that my boss asked for a note for missing a day of work to rest it, and the doctor asks if I want to be at work to do what I can and stay off of it as best as possible, and I say that's what I've been trying to do, so I'm fine with what I do, have sick time if it would be more beneficial to be off of it for a couple days. She comes back with a note that says that I may return to work on 9th September, which would be Monday. I took a picture and shot it over to Bossman, just a photo. He replies, "What's wrong with ankle?" which I met with no response considering none is needed. He got his note. I just wanted a day of sick time, 8 hours, and now he's paying me 4 days, 32 hours. He cannot refuse a second of it. And the next one is a brand new funny story from r/petty revenge. This one is titled, "Roommate said, if you're so tired of cleaning up after us, just leave our stuff where you found it." So I am 35 female now, but in college. I rented a small house with 3 dudes, all of us in our early 20s. I have many stories of petty revenge from this time in my life, as guys in their 20s who are living away from their mothers for the first time often need the point illustrated in no uncertain terms. But this one is one of my favorites. The house had 1 bathroom for the 4 of us, and as the only girl and the only one with a clean freak for a mother, I ended up doing basically all of the cleaning. I frequently put things away in the common space, shoes in the front closet, laptop on a shelf so no one trips over the cord, etc., both because it made cleaning easier and because it is common courtesy to clean up your crap in common spaces. I was often met with irritation from my roommates who could not find their stuff, as if I was hiding it from them and not putting it in perfectly reasonable and agreed upon places. During this time, one roommate also had a girlfriend who was basically a squatter in our house. I did my best to be friendly and welcoming, including driving her places when I had time and helping her find a job. Both mistakes in hindsight, but that's another story. She technically had a place to live elsewhere, but all of her stuff somehow ended up in our house, including our one tiny bathroom, which she showered in twice a day, despite contributing nothing to rent or utilities. The number of products lining our shower easily tripled when she appeared, which made cleaning the bathroom a nightmare. I asked that she corral her bathroom stuff and keep it in his room so the shower could be cleaned without knocking 27 conditioner bottles over, but that was asking too much. The final verdict from my roommates was that I should just leave our stuff where you found it. So I did. When I cleaned the shower, I sprayed down all of her bathroom products with scrubbing bubbles rather than move it. I melted her expensive shampoo bar pretty quickly and made all of her bottled products slippery, but I was just following instructions. The roommate's laptop was plugged in, so I tripped over the cord while walking through the living room. You said you just leave it, so I did, even though tripping over it unplugged it, and now it is dead when you need to use it. And my personal favorite? Roommate and girlfriend left their shoes all over the living room rug. The closest is literally 3 feet away. I needed to vacuum, so I left their stuff where I found it, rolled up the living room rug with their shoes inside, and vacuumed the whole house. They came out halfway through and asked where I put their shoes because they were leaving. I didn't put them anywhere, I left them where I found them, I said. They kept looking, confused, until about 30 minutes later when I unrolled the rug to replace it, revealing their shoes. They called me an a-hole, but after the shoe incident, suddenly her bathroom products were put away, shoes ended up in the closet, and the laptop was plugged in somewhere out of the way. And yeah guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave some star emojis in the comments, and I will see you again tomorrow.